Good Monday evening, everybody. My name is Zach Burns. This is the fifth episode of Burns and Holla. And tonight's guest is someone that, like Terry, who will be along shortly, I filled in with on Cairo. It's sort of like and actually, Andrew Walsh.
Hi.
Welcome. You and I used to work the same shift at Cairo Radio. You preceded the fascist Jason Rance, I believe.
You guys are friends, aren't you?
We're really good friends, yeah. But also he's a fascist. You used to do the 7 to 10 shift solo, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was back in, I want to say 2013, 2014. I've always been a radio producer my whole life. Never really wanted to be in front of the microphone, but we had a program director named Smokey at the time. And when you have a program director named Smokey, things are going to get crazy. And Smokey decided to give me my own radio show. Did you work there when Smokey worked there?
No, wait, unless what's Smokey's real name?
I've actually
initials.
I'm literally blanking on his name. I think you might know who I'm talking about, but he was a program director, and we found out that his old air name, like way back in the day, and whatever market he was in, it was Smokey. So I have erased any memory of his real name, and I only know him as Smokey. Great guy. I'm not trying to make fun of him. I really appreciate him giving me the chance, but I think a lot of people learned why I was not supposed to be on the radio. And instead,
so you're disappointed in your performance on the show?
Yeah, I'm really glad that I had the opportunity, but I wasn't somebody who was really my life up until that point was not pointing in that direction. So it wasn't like a dream come true for me to have my own radio show with a bunch of ideas. You pointed out something really specific that was tough, which was I didn't have a co-host, and I had applied for the job with a co-host, and it turns out that didn't work out financially speaking. So they gave the show to me, and I had a great producer, Nick Jarin. He is not Smokey, by the way. And I would lean on him like crazy because he's so much smarter than me and so much more articulate, and we'd have a good time. And then I get notes from the bosses that were like, this is your show. Your name is on the show. We need less Nick and more me. And I'm like, that's a bad idea. So I do have these almost horrific memories of me trying to have some take on some social issue, not bouncing off of anybody and just looking at the clock and realizing I got 7 minutes of bullshit. I just got to keep this going.
That's worse. So I've normally done radio in tandems, but I did do probably about 4 months solo, and it's not physically exhausting, obviously, but it is mentally exhausting to know that you have to like prepare. And then, this will get a little inside, but the first quarter hour, we just like bypassed any sort of traffic or anything because it was 7 p.m. at night and the roads were clear. So I had like 18 straight minutes to fill by myself on issues that I thought the city would care about, but I didn't particularly care about.
Really?
So, yeah. I mean, there's stuff that I'm passionate about, and then there's stuff that you just sort of, this is the hucksterism of talk radio, is that you have to pretend to care about things that you don't necessarily actually care about, and then fill that time. And then think about talking about a new topic at the top of every hour. The later breaks get a little bit easier, to like 7 minutes and 8 minutes, whatever. But for 18 minutes to monologue 3 times a night on new stuff, like just anybody watching this, try to talk for 18 straight minutes on the thing that you're most passionate about. It's difficult and it's joyless. Whereas having a co-host is fun. It's actually just I get why you kind of relied on Nick to bounce stuff off of, because then you're having a conversation and then your roles sort of get established. Like he presents the facts, you make jokes about him, he's the conservative, you're the progressive, whatever it is. That's when radio is fun. When I was going through the slog of just monologuing, and then maybe you notice this too, like the station doesn't pay attention to you until they pay a lot of attention to you. So I was just booking passion projects. I had the Seattle pop punk band from like the late 90s called Sicko on for like 38 minutes because nobody was monitoring me until like at some point they were like, you can't do stuff like that. Like, you have to be really on point with news.
Well, that is so. I had that gig for exactly a year, and when I first had it, I mean, I can't, all self-deprecation aside, which is true, by the way, and it's not a put on. I was obviously excited to be in a city that I absolutely loved, an adopted city that I fell in love with, and to have 3 hours to do what I wanted to, and to just like talk to my city. And then I'll never forget my rides home. Sometimes on my little Vespa-esque scooter, sometimes in my car, driving from the radio station back to my home in Capitol Hill, in a location that I loved, being filled with, even if I had a bad night, being filled with so many endorphins of looking out at the skyline of the city and knowing that I had just gotten off the air. There's no comparable feeling to me to that. But when I first started, I was very much in my head, and I was getting a lot of advice from people that I did not ask advice from. Some of them were my boss's bosses, who were trying to be encouraging, but then just emailing me in the middle of the show, reminding me that they're at home listening. Now suddenly I'm picturing my boss's bosses sitting at home while I'm trying to do my show. It's not helpful, really helpful, even if they're trying to be encouraging. And so for the first 6 months, I was totally in my head about it. After 6 months, they kind of took the show away from me partially, and it became the John Curley with Andrew Walsh show. Now, John Curley is well-known TV and radio guy here in town, and he's incredibly talented. I admire him and his skills so much, but he's also a very big conservative with a lot of specious arguments, and that was not the type of radio that I was interested in doing. And so we did that for a few months, and here's where I'm going with this. I got my show back. He moves on. I got my show back for the last 3 months, and that was when the show got good, because I didn't care. I knew I wouldn't be renewing my contract.
Right.
I stopped listening to everybody, and that's when the show got good.
And that sounds like the latter third of the Howard Stern movie, Private Parts. Like
probably.
It's hard to, but it's hard to. Terry Holloman is here.
Hi, Terry.
Hey, Terry.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Welcome.
Good to see you.
We're gonna get into Hamilton in a second. 2 of us have seen it, but it's hard to do that. Like, that takes a lot of courage to just ignore what other people are telling, like what your bosses are telling you, knowing that your gut is better than their advice.
Yes, and I say that the last 3 months of that show were the best it ever was. I don't know if other people feel that way, but like Nick and I had a damn good time.
Yeah. Let's get into Terry. Do you know Andrew? Yes, you guys lived together.
Yeah, we met a couple of times.
You know what?
Was it the Ron and Don shift that you would do?
I think we did the Ron and Don thing. Even your boy Rants. Did we do Rants?
Did we? I don't know. Maybe. Boy, his audience must have loved me.
All worked together after a while.
Yeah, it was a joy after he left to talk to the people he had cultivated for 3 years. As you can imagine. Let's talk about Hamilton. Came out on Disney Plus, so the rest of us, the hoi polloi, can finally see it and not have to refinance our cars or borrow money from our parents or whatever it took to get the tickets.
Right.
I was always pretending to really want to see it because it sounded dumb to not pretend or not to express interest in it, because people were going in and just coming out and raving, and it was like it was selling out on Broadway, which has happened before. But then my mom ended up seeing it in Corpus Christi, Texas. And even that was a hot ticket. So clearly there was something to it. But I have some prejudices against musicals. I once got tricked into seeing Evita when I was in high school. And then the first scene is like Antonio Banderas is singing. And I'm like, well, okay, one scene is fine. And then they never stop singing. Like, I don't like Sweeney Todd, where it's like, I don't like the type of musicals where they sing what they're going to, like, I'm going to the market today. Like, it's so annoying.
You're going to hate the show I'm working on. It's called I'm Going to the Market Today.
And so it came out on Disney Plus. It's like, well, I have no excuse not to watch it now. I know my wife wanted to see it. So we watched it last night, and even the choreography, I can watch that show in silence. There's sometimes when I watch something and it makes me want to quit being creative. The last thing was Oh Hello with John Mulaney and Nick Kroll, which is like, I mean, why even try to do a better show than this? And then I'm watching Hamilton last night, and we're like, there's two parts to it. There's the choreography, which, as I was starting to say, I could watch that musical in silence and still be enthralled by the entire 2.5 hours of it.
Yeah.
And then you add in the lyrics, which is, if you don't know the story of Hamilton, it's the story of Alexander Hamilton. It's essentially the story of the birth of our nation, but done. Hip hop is the dominant genre of music. I don't know. I didn't count all the words, but it's like, it's lyrically, it's an impossible feat. Yeah. It is beyond what any one human being should be capable of creating.
Yeah. So I'm gonna assume, since you said 2 of the 3 of us,
yes,
have seen it. I'm gonna assume, Andrew, you're the odd man out.
I haven't seen it. Yeah.
What are you doing, man?
He just rewatches Neighbors and Neighbors 2 and just gets fumes about it, how that should be him.
No, well, I mean, how were you seeing it before it was on Disney Plus, Terry?
No.
But you saw it this weekend. Yeah. Well, I also like the way that you say the hoi polloi who can now watch it on Disney Plus. Like, yeah, that's another paid service. I'm not paying for Disney Plus.
Neither did I.
Oh.
Andrew, you're well connected. You have 2 ways. One, we all know how to pirate stuff. And then you know somebody that you could share a password with. You know, Luke, I'm sure, has Disney Plus and would pass along.
I don't know if he does. Well, listen, because here's the deal. Here's my struggle with Hamilton. Almost everybody I hear from absolutely loves it. Says things like what you're just saying. Even like, I don't expect myself to like these types of performances, but this is different, and it just transported me away, and it deserves all these accolades, and that's great. I never want to take that away from anybody, and I will say this: every time somebody suggests a song, sometimes on the podcast I work on, somebody will say, "Just play this song," because they know that I'm dismissive of Hamilton, and so I'll listen to a song. And I know that they love it, and it just makes me cringe so much. There's something about the format. There's something about the seemingly obviousness of it, and it's just not a format that's for me. And so I know of 3 people in my life who have no interest in Hamilton. One is my partner Genevieve, and the other one is a woman who is a friend of mine who lives on the other side of the country. And whenever any of us have anything bad we want to say about Hamilton, we can only keep that amongst ourselves, because I don't want to be out there. I saw on Twitter this weekend some people kind of finally bashing Hamilton, and it got me on this whole thought process of like, do we need to bash things other people love? Because part of me was kind of like, oh, there's another person who doesn't like Hamilton, welcome to the club. Yeah. But then I'm like, well, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be spreading
the hamster hipster.
I don't want to be tamping down joy.
Yeah, you should, if that's the way you feel. I mean, you said it on Twitter. Twitter is just all about, I don't know what Twitter was supposed to be started as, but now it's just injecting your opinion into anything no one is asking you about. So if you don't like Hamilton, and as the person who doesn't like recommendations, like, I listened to the new Fiona Apple record, and it's crap. It's not good, but everyone told me that I should like it. So I sort of feel those things when there's cultural, iconic things that come out, and everybody's like, you got to get on board. Like, it took me forever to watch Schitt's Creek because too many people were recommending it to me. I'm never going to watch Rick and Morty. No, not like someone in a Rick and Morty t-shirt telling me I should watch Rick and Morty. I will never ever tune into it. But you brought up that the songs sound sort of corny without the visuals, and you're right. Definitely right. But with the visuals, like, maybe you'll get it. Maybe you will come around, and then it'll go from 4 people hating Hamilton back down to 3.
Would you? I'm just going to throw this out there, and I'm not saying we should do this. I'm just asking, would you support a measure, though, that outlaws singing Hamilton songs at karaoke?
Yes.
Okay, because that's another way I've been introduced to Hamilton songs. I'm like, I don't think this is the venue.
No, they're all like 6 minutes long. There shouldn't be songs that long. Like, if you get up there and you're doing Bohemian Rhapsody, you're an asshole. Like, you should be up there doing a 2, maybe 3-minute pop song and getting off stage. And the other thing too, is it really?
Bust the move.
You know what mine is?
Larry, how's my brother Harry? That's me. I'm out. Nothing substantial, nothing you have to think about, nothing you have to spend like 4.5 minutes listening to.
No, you shouldn't. And when Cherry, let's get into the rules of karaoke, which one I do massively violate. When you get up there, you take it seriously, right?
Super serious.
Good, because there's nothing I hate. And this is what I learned from going to back in Asbury Park. There was one drag karaoke show. This used to be before there was a drag version of everything. And it was like to get into cost or to get it to become the queens that were going to go on stage took like hours. So if you got up on stage and just like giggled your way through, Toxic or whatever pop song you were doing, like there was a decent chance a drag queen was going to elbow you in the face, because like this was their chance to shine for the week. So if you're up there like, hit me baby one more time, like you get up there and take it seriously. But the one thing that I do like to do is sort of bring the mood down, because I just think it's really funny. So I get up there and sing the Green Day "Time of Your Life" song.
Oh wow.
God, you gave him the oh wow.
Just like, maybe close the night with that, right?
Nope. It's like a 10-11 performance. Or if I'm feeling like everyone's having too much fun, I'll do Landslide.
Oh wow, man. So you're not a good friend.
No.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, how did we transition from Hamilton to bad karaoke songs?
Because
does that put you in the mind frame of bad karaoke?
No, I think that your song is perfect. Like everybody knows it. You clearly have it mastered. Like you should really, if you're into karaoke, just pick one song and just become,
the master of that
song. Yeah. Where you almost become known for it.
Did you want to go back to Hamilton, though? I feel bad. I'm the one who kind of got us on this karaoke jag. Terry, did you have some Hamilton thoughts?
Fortunately, we don't have a program director who's telling us to be more focused. We can kind of just weave in and out of conversation. Meander a little bit. Yeah. Terry, you saw Hamilton as well.
I did.
Is Andrew, what do you think of Andrew's opinions?
They're valid. It's because he's here and he's right there in front of me. Validate him while he's here. When he's gone, I'm gonna talk shit about him though.
Now I gotta watch next week's episode. Great way to get me.
That's right, the cliffhanger. No, but seriously though, so I was the guy for all these years. I was never going to see Hamilton. I just wasn't. Musicals are not my thing. Have never been. I'm not into people singing their dialogue. I think you just say it. Just say the words.
Yeah.
And I didn't know when I don't know if I was naive about musicals. I thought that maybe they're going to sing some parts and then they're going to stop and talk and then sing some other parts and then stop talking. No, they sang every line. But so I wasn't really quite prepared for that. That being said, I walked away really feeling like everything that I had done in my life, like as far as, putting myself out to the public, was mediocre. These guys, not only were they rapping songs, they would rap and then sing and then incorporate the acting into it and the movements that go along with it. It would be like, honestly, like memorizing 2 complete Eminem albums and then doing a Beyonce album.
Mm-hmm.
Like the same kind of vocals, what I'm saying? Wow, acting it out, like doing the acting to it. So that was number 1. And then number 2, just the entire choreography that was associated with it. Just from there's 30, 40 people on a stage at a time sometimes. Yeah. And they're all doing different things, all doing like they're in the background reading, the Articles of the Confederation or doing something over here and then moving the stairs and then the lights and then the stage is moving. It was just a whole bunch of talented people conglomerated in one setting doing what they do best. And it was just a whole lot. And that's what I really respected. It was a great story, great storyline, but just for everything to come together the way it did was the thing that impressed me. And I'm not a guy that, like I said, I don't do, not only do I not do musicals, I don't do a lot of like the plays and stuff like that.
Watching a play is supposed to be a live experience too. That was kind of the remarkable thing. You're supposed to be there. Like that's part of the energy. Because I do love plays, and I don't mind plays with songs. Like I usually have to get dragged to go see a play, and then when I leave Wicked, I'm like, Wicked was magical, and I would like an extra large sweatshirt, please. But this one, knowing that it was music start to finish, and knowing that I was going to watch it on TV instead of actually being live, wasn't all that thrilled, but knew like it's one of those moments you feel like you should definitely participate in, like watching the Avengers Endgame. I have friends of varying degrees of emotional investment to these characters. Some don't care about them because they just think that it's silly, and then others, one of which I actually saw the movie with Jason Rantz, and there was a moment. I mean, Tony Stark dies. If you don't know that, when he dies, you'll never get around to it. When he died, she was bawling uncontrollably. So I don't get that sort of level of emotional investment, but I knew it was important for me to see the Avengers Endgame, like this decade-long iconic cultural investment that I had made. And I feel like Hamilton was definitely something that was important to see. But I am seeing people now kind of dip their toe in the water like Andrew. I don't know if you've made any public statements before tonight that you're not the biggest Hamilton fan. But it's the same thing. It's like, if you don't like musicals, it's like I don't like Brussels sprouts. And lately, the last 5 years, they've been adding bacon to it. Well, you can add whatever you want to it. I'm still not going to like Brussels sprouts. So if you don't like musicals, you're just not going to like it.
Well, I think. Oh, sorry, Terry. Go ahead.
No, I don't know if I subscribe to that because I hate musicals, and I kind of like Hamilton. Like, not even kind of like it. I liked it a lot.
So maybe reason. Do you not? Okay, so we have Kara. So I grew up with her brother. She's asking us, how could you not like Grease? And I think Grease is actually a very good example as to why the three of us, I would imagine, really hate musicals. Because the songs are terrible, but just catchy enough to stay in your head for far too long.
Like the last 35 years? Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried with Grease. I made a real effort. I think I was producing some show where we were doing something on Grease, and so I actually bought it. I have the DVD somewhere, and I'm like, this is a cultural. I have to watch this. I made it halfway through. I don't know, man. I just have a sort of a gag reflex when it comes to those things. And again, but I'm not here to make people, you know what I mean? I want to make it very clear. I'm in the minority here. Everybody else enjoys it. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm right about this thing that I don't like. And I think that, to take it back to what I was reading on Twitter this weekend and thinking about, is like, I like football. I like watching the Super Bowl. And inevitably, if you're online, if you're on Twitter during the Super Bowl, there's going to be a few people in your circle who are going to be complaining about how the only thing that people are talking about today is football, and I don't like football. And then I'm always like, okay, you don't like football. This is probably an annoying day on Twitter for you, but you can also just like not tweet, I don't like football. And so I'm not going to be out there like being like, I don't like Hamilton, because that achieves nothing. It's just not for me.
But I don't think that you would be as annoying as other people would be, because I hate those tweets on Super Bowl. Like, glad to see you're all enjoying the game. I'm watching, whatever counter programming is on. It's like, why are you just being a downer? But I wouldn't expect your criticism to be kind of in that same ilk. Like, you would just point it out like, hey, you all should enjoy it. I'm just going to remain firm on my anti-musical stance.
I saw a bumper sticker one time that really stuck with me, and I'm making I'm inferring a lot from this one bumper sticker I saw like years ago, but it sticks in my brain. I'm behind some car here in Seattle. There's no bumper stickers on the back of this car except for one, and it said, I love sports ball. And then in smaller type, something like, because go team, or something like that. It was basically a bumper sticker saying, I don't enjoy sports. I don't enjoy sports. And that's fine. Like, there's a lot of reasons. I mean, football is problematic. The NFL is problematic for a lot of reasons. We all know that. And there's a lot of reasons why it might not just be entertaining to you as something to watch on TV or in person. And that's fine. But I've always been mesmerized by the person who, you have a back of your car, you're you want to stick stickers on there to tell the world something about yourself. And
Yes.
the one thing this person wanted to tell the world was, I don't like this thing that other people like. And I mean, that's fine that you don't like it, but I just never got that mentality.
Can we actually just talk about well, first let's do bumper stickers. I don't own a car at this point, but I've never had a bumper sticker. The closest I got was like a Sonic Youth sticker, because you gotta, if you tell the world you like Sonic Youth, people, even though you don't really like Sonic Youth, you listen to Goo a couple of times, they're just okay. Terry, I would assume you're bumper sticker free? Maybe
I am bumper sticker free. No,
okay.
No.
Because it is a massive commitment, almost more than a tattoo, because before you even get out of the car, you're presenting this thing to other people about yourself. And I've thought the same recently, and I guess this will be our transition. Andrew wanted to ask me about what it's like to work at a grocery store. So I work at a QFC, so I see a lot of people every day. And I saw this woman who had a shirt on that said, "All I need is chocolate and coffee." It's like, why would you want to present yourself to the world that way?
I see a lot of people representing themselves to the world in a lot of crazy different ways.
Yeah,
and I mean, those are benign, but still, like chocolate and coffee or whatever. I mean, if that's really all you're about right now, if I had to draw, who you are as a person, and that was it, whatever, chocolate and coffee. But I've seen these ones. Especially up here in my neck of the woods, like Black Rifles Matter.
Well, that's a very different thing.
Yeah. Or like, there are people who have, the people that have representatives of their family, the dad, the mom, the little daughter and the son and the puppy, right? You've all seen that, right?
Yeah.
Well, have you seen the one with the 2 rifles and the little pistol and the little machine gun? Like, this is our family? It's like, I don't understand. Wow. Like, what do you like? I've seen those in multiple of them. So I'm trying to understand, what are you trying to portray to the world? Like, what reaction are you trying to get? Am I supposed to be afraid of you in your car because you have stickers, or am I supposed to respect you and drive by and be like, yeah, right on, man?
Yeah, Second Amendment. Just yell Second Amendment outside your window, out the window. Yeah, they'd be like, yeah, Second Amendment. Yeah. They go, name another amendment. They're like, they just roll the window up real quick.
Yeah, you're right, man. I don't know. I guess I'm not ready to, like you said, dive in and have that type of commitment, wear my heart on my sleeve or on my bumper to let everybody know. Unless it's, I mean, not even the UW. I love UW. I got something in my window that I could take out.
Yeah, but it's I guess I'm just judging people more. Even when I see someone with a Nirvana shirt in Seattle, I'm like, you fucking nerd.
I think about that a lot, because you're not from here either, right?
No,
you didn't grow up here. Yeah, I didn't grow up here either, and I love Seattle, and I grew up loving Nirvana, but nothing stopped me from listening to Nirvana more than moving to Seattle, because I just don't think that I can be that guy, which is a weird thing. This is kind of similar, but something that I think about a lot, which is how when we're growing up, the music that we listen to is so much. The reason people can get really snobby about things like Hamilton or even the wine and chocolate is like we're especially when we're younger, we're trying to figure out who our little tribes are, right? Like culturally, and like that's such a big deal. Like the goths like this, and the nerds like this, and the jocks like this, and then one of the most freeing things about getting older is you don't give a shit. Like, I just don't care. Like, I like the B-52s. I don't, not good stuff. Obviously, good stuff was a terrible record, but
yeah, like, I mean, it's like the violent stuff.
But it's just like, it's so nice to get to an age where you can mostly kind of shed all of the trappings.
It's when you don't feel embarrassed about hanging out with your parents anymore. Like, you just hit it, or you're not embarrassed by the way your friend looks, like or whatever. But when I was in high school, I was a punk rock kid, so that meant I had to fundamentally reject every other form of music, and only punk. And then that so defined my identity. I guess some people just don't grow out of that phase. We're so much more evolved, the three of us.
Yeah, no, I think you hit on it there.
Yeah. So, Andrew, you wanted to ask me, Terry, I don't know if you know, I have been working at a grocery store while I wait for my unemployment. And Andrew and I were talking pre-show, and you had some questions because, and I'd be curious to get where your relationship with the grocery store is with Terry. Andrew finds it his oasis, like it's just this calming place to. Yeah, I used to feel that way.
Well,
Terry.
different, right?
Yeah.
Most things become different when it becomes your occupation and you're doing it for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember hearing, I think I realized I loved grocery stores. I can almost mark the moment. And with many things, it's radio related. I listen to talk radio almost constantly. A lot of it is just our local sports radio station, 710. I believe you guys are both familiar with our friends over at 710 ESPN. And I kind of have that on at all times. And so much of it is just going by quickly. But then every now and then something will stick out and I will remember where I heard that thing, right? That was totally a waste of your time just to get to this point. I remember listening to the, I think it was the Colin Cowherd show, and he was playing a piece of tape of Bill Belichick saying that he never goes to the grocery store and he hates going to the grocery store. And that would be like the one thing that if he could totally cut it out of his life. And I remember thinking, no, I'm the opposite. As rich as I ever got, I think I would always go to the grocery store. And for me, part of it is, I was telling you before we started streaming, Zach, that like part of it is a game to me. Like once I commit to a grocery store, I don't like to go to other grocery stores. Like I like to get to know mine. Yeah. And then I know the route. What's that?
You feel like you're cheating on your grocery store?
I swear to God, my old grocery store was a QFC in Wallingford. When I had to move to this new Safeway I go to now, I had guilt feelings. I was like, nobody tell the QFC. Like, I'm just taking the blinders off. But like now I know that QFC so well, even with the new, the pandemic related rules of going down the aisles in a certain direction. Like I can write out a grocery list with spaces in there, knowing that, well, I just keep my grocery list in order based on where things are in the store. And if I get it 100%, then I'm really walking out of there with my head held high. So I feel like it's a place that I can sort of control in my own sort of way. And that like, it can be the experience that you bring to it, which is why I love it. But I've always worried that if I ever worked in a grocery store, I would start to hate it. And that's what it sounds like. Happening to you.
I don't love it more.
Elaborate on that, Zach.
What's that?
Your newfound hatred?
Hatred seems like a strong word, but I used to find the same sort of peace that Andrew did. Like here is something that I just love to do. And I don't know when you scan your club card, but I like to wait till the end. And then just see all the things take out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And now I'm not even getting, so my job is essentially shopping all day for other people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So by the time that I get off and have to shop for myself, I'm pretty tired of doing all that. One thing that I tend to forget is that not all of my coworkers like had a different life before this. And that's a really like arrogant question that I've been asking. Like, oh, what'd you do before this? And they're like, I've been here for 17 years. I'm like, I'm an asshole. I forgot that like this is a career and probably a decent career for many of it. But because I have so limited amounts of emotional attachment to the job, there is something sort of freeing about that. Like working for something that you could not care less about, there is like, it's at times definitely feels like just a waste of waking breaths. But also, it's so fun to not be immersed because there's gossip and stuff, and there's cashiers that eat baggers, there's all stuff like that, and it's sort of it's just wonderful. Like, and then they like, there was a sex offender who got fired. That was actually like I did get engaged in that one because he was a sex offender who was just like talking about bestiality and stuff too, but got hired for the same job I did and then only got fired because of his behavior. Like
so a recent hire. This isn't one of the 17-year long-termers.
No, this was someone who had come aboard about the same time that I did and then got let go. But like just your rote day-to-day office stuff, like it's kind of fun to just witness it happening. And these people are just wrapped up in it. Like Josh hates Susan because Susan will shut up about her asparagus. And I just watch it with this level of entertainment that I wouldn't if I actually did care about this job. And there is something sort of freeing about that. And the other thing that I do love is whoever programs grocery store music is goddamn masterful, because it's the most eclectic bunch of it goes through like you'll hear Blue Moon back to back with Taylor Swift, and somehow it just like works. Yeah, like you'll never notice it if you're in there for the 45 minutes to an hour. But being that I'm in there for your typical 8-hour shift, like I really start to notice the programming, and it's like there is a psychological genius behind this. There's this person putting together these playlists that really has it figured out. Like I feel like at least satellite radio should have a channel called Grocery Store Tunes. I would listen to it because there's never a song where they because it's so expanded in terms of how many decades they play. There's never like, oh, I've heard this for the 17th time today. And because again, there's so many decades, there's never a song where you're like, I don't like this song. Like Wichita Lineman, it's a great song if you hear it every 2.5 weeks.
You know what's crazy about what you just said, and I agree with everything that you just said, by the way, but that there is actually not just a person, but I guarantee you there is a panel of people somewhere that come up with these songs, these playlists that say this playlist, these songs are the ones that make our shoppers buy the most food, buy the most, groceries, whatever they need to get. And that's a hell of a job to have, right? Like, I'm going to put together these lists of songs which psychologically encourage my people to buy groceries. And I'll tell you the honest truth. There have been times, and people that are watching right now on my Facebook page, on that link, they know because I post the videos of me jamming down the aisle. Like I'll come in and I'll be like, oh, I haven't heard this song in like 10 years. And then I'll be dancing, and then I'll sometimes find myself singing along to some of these songs in the aisle. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in public. What am I doing right now?
You're right. That's all about mood.
Hey, extra minutes because I got to hear the rest of this song.
Right.
You have the face mask now, so nobody knows it's you singing too. That works in your favor. Sure, I wonder, I'd love to study out if there's a direct line between Salisbury Hill and the sale of Salisbury steaks in a grocery store. Like every time that song comes on, they're just flying out of the freezer section. What about bagging? I mean, I have this thing that I like to do with all of my broadcast opportunities, which is drive listeners away. I don't know what you guys have. You guys are on board with this plan, but what I want, we don't have to do this. What I want to ask right now is for you guys to rank grocery store jobs, because one thing that I always want to do is I want to be a bagger. Some of the best compliments I've gotten in my life is when somebody who works at the grocery store compliments my bagging style. And I'm like, yeah, because I wouldn't do it if I didn't know what I was doing. Where do you guys stand on that?
Pre-COVID, I would agree. Now, anytime I get complimented for doing this job well, it's emotionally devastating. It's like, I didn't want to be here long enough to do this job well.
You've reached the top level of whatever it is I'm doing right now. This is it.
This is it. Right.
But is there a hierarchy of power?
Yeah.
Is it like, it's kind of like, do people like I assume that you want to kind of work as a butcher, or maybe you're in the bakery, maybe there's some status there.
There is. If you're attached to a specialty section, and I would say probably, other than the general manager, who you would think would just sit in their office all day, but actually is out there like rearranging bread. So even if you hit like the tippy top, you still got to make do the stuff that the 17-year-old kids are doing, except you just make a salary. But in terms of prestige, if there is such a thing at a QFC, which there is, in terms of employee hierarchy, the customers don't give a shit. But if you're a cheesemonger, like people look up to you because that is that's cuisine.
If you have a real legitimate cheese section, unless you like some of the grocery stores is just you got the.
I'm not talking about like refilling Tillamook and Kraft. This is like you're saying like chèvre, or a Gruyere. Like you're like grocery store intellectuals now.
Yeah.
Like you're in an elevated position. After that, it's definitely the seafood department, because you're talking to the richest customers, right? People go to the seafood department and buy, salmon for $29.99 a pound, and then you're the person who can magically cut a perfect 1 pound portion of the salmon. People look up to you, and then everything else I feel like you kind of squash together, because the bakery is just a pile of lies. They don't bake shit there, because I would know, because there would be hot ovens somewhere, or the smell of fresh baked bread. They just bring in other bakeries, and then what they do is essentially put the bread out on the shelves, and then in deli, the grunts are definitely the people who like go get the carts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even that, I'm glad to see that. I mean, this is one positive thing. I love seeing them out there cleaning all the carts now. Like, that should have been happening a long time ago.
I did that for like 2 months before they started the whole like in-store shopping thing. And I literally got paid to stare straight ahead and exist, because somebody else, there's union and non-union jobs, and I hate that any of this information is in my head.
I love it.
So there were like union people who had to go get the carts, and then non-union people who were wiping them down while we waited for the in-store shopping thing. So I couldn't go get the carts. It's like beyond Teamster ludicrousness. Like, I couldn't touch a cart if it was outside of my cart area. So I just had to wait for somebody else to go get the carts. In the meantime, while no one was doing that, I couldn't leave the carts for whatever reason. I'm not sure. I guess in case somebody brought a cart back and it went unwiped down, and then COVID spread. So I would just stand there and stare straight ahead and breathe and get paid my hourly wage for it. And like, if I left to, go do something else, people are like, why weren't you at your standing station?
You're standing and staring station.
I was just stand and stare. Fortunately, I was in front of the cheese department, so I would just stare.
Wouldn't you rather? I had a job in college where a huge part of the job, the biggest part of the job, was hiding out. Like, they told me when I started, like my colleagues, right? It was a housekeeping job for the student center. And the general understanding was they hire too many of us. We cannot work too quickly because they'll stop hiring so much of us. So we have hidey spots all over the student center where we can sneak into and smoke cigarettes. It was the 90s. And I was always just like, just give me a mop. I hate waiting around. I'd rather do grunt work than just stand there, because nothing makes time stand still like not doing something.
I agree with you.
I gotta tell you this, guys. So when you talk about the grocery store, you're talking about the hierarchy, and Andrew, I know you said you love the idea of stacking and the groceries in the bag. I suck at that. I would be terrible. I would be the worst. I'm not good at the geometry. I would put your eggs on the bottom and throw some cans of beets on top of it. And it'd be trouble. But the one guy at the grocery store that has always been my go-to guy, and I think I would be him, is the guy in the vegetable section that's out there putting up the bell pepper and the corn and the lettuce. And he's always, hey, how you doing, sir? Good morning to you, sir. How are you? And then I start the department.
It's a very good point.
I'm having a conversation with the vegetable guy, and I'm like, he's like, the arugula is really fresh today. Let me go check the back for you. All right, Mr. Holland, good to see you. Have a great day. That is the guy that makes my day every time I go in the grocery store.
And this is why that happens, Harry. This is similar with other departments, but more in produce, because if they're out of something in seafood, they don't have it in the back. It's just gone. Produce does have a very large back section. So this is the only world where these people get to be gatekeepers. And clearly they like you. But if they don't like somebody else and they're out of English cucumbers, which is something I never knew existed until I started this, and they will, if they don't like you, if there's been some sort of disagreement in the past, there could be 300 in the back, and they won't go get it for you. Yeah,
you're not getting English cucumber.
So yeah, your produce, be kind to your produce people, because they will treat you well. Because again, in their mind, this is the only world they have any sort of control over, and that's it. So,
and that's why it always pays to be nice to everybody you run into, because in some spot they're in control of that little section, and then whether it's the vegetable section, maybe the cheesemonger might have some cheddar, some extra sharp cheddar in the back you've been looking for.
Well, you just naturally want to be nice to a cheesemonger, because they're like gonna recommend a new kind of cheese, and then you're gonna be like, ooh, and then you're gonna bring it home, and you can be shitty to cashiers all day long though.
No,
they can't charge you any more or less than what the price of everything is.
No, be nice. I was hearing, because again, I'm obsessed with grocery stores. And so on the podcast, I was hearing from listeners who have been working in the grocery store industry for some time, and some people who are newer to it, like you, Zach, and just hearing horror stories about the way people were treating them at the beginning of pandemic. It made me so rageful. These are hard jobs anyway. And I mean, I don't know to what degree you're joking around about the, about the produce being in the back, but like one listener wrote in to tell me horror stories. She was working at Costco. Sorry, I'm in the Pacific Northwest now, Walsh. But she was saying that, like, she's like, if we have it, we're going to sell it to you. Like, people are swearing at me that I'm and accusing me of withholding products. And, this is this is a month into the pandemic when everybody's just like totally losing their head, and people were just being abused. And it really made me very defensive of grocery store workers.
That was when people were just kind of in a state of panic, because we weren't exactly sure about our food supply chain. And then Tyson took out a full-page ad saying the food supply chain is breaking, and clearly it's not. So everyone's, there was like a new product every week. People were buying up hand sanitizer, then toilet paper or whatever, and fighting over it because they thought like this is going to be the last shipment. People have relaxed a bit now, and one thing that I'm not seeing, that I have not seen yet, is any sort of mask freakouts. Like I've definitely had people that made, like Terry, I was talking about last week, made kind of a flippant remark, like, I bet you wish I was wearing a mask. But in terms of, I just saw a video of a woman in a Target ripping down their entire mask display, just saying, this shit is over. Like, right. And I work in Cap Hill. Like, there's no short of very opinionated, slightly off kilter people in Capitol Hill. And the more time goes on, and this is, I guess, the one humanity reaffirming part of this job, is that people are very understanding when something is out of stock. People are very good. I'm seeing probably 95% of people wearing masks, and if they come in without one, they can get one, and often do. And I was thinking about it today, like, and I'm seeing more people actually respecting the social distance thing, like trying to get out of each other's way and be cognizant of where they are in the aisle, like not parking the cart on one side and being on the other side. And then these small nonsensical interactions that are happening where both people end up wishing each other a nice day. Like, those kind of things are kind of nice to see, but I wish I was seeing them as a fellow customer rather than someone with an apron on.
Sure.
So my question to both of you gentlemen is, so now we're here with the masks. There's still some people who are dissenters and deciding they don't want to wear it, and it's because they're going to be rebels, right? Mm-hmm. The social distancing, when we're in the store, the 6 feet of distance. Now they have up the plexiglass shields at the cash registers. Is this going to be our full-time reality? Like 6 months, a year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now. And I say that because I remember back in 9/11, the original 9/11, and they first started having people, take off their belt and go through all these security measures, take off your shoes. And I wasn't sure if that was something that was going to stick. I thought that was just something we're going to, go through as, a reaction to something that just happened that was terrible. And then 6 months down the road, we're going to flip back into, okay, just, maybe we'll go through the scanners and then get on the airplane so that nobody has a bomb. But it's our reality now. So is our mask going to be our new reality? Is 6 feet of distance when we go to the grocery store the new reality?
Well, it all comes down to the vaccination, right? And then it's hard to, once your comfort in public is defined by having the mask on and having people stay that far around you, even if the virus starts to wane, it's going to be a long time before that feels okay again.
Like if somebody stands beside you 6 months from now and they
yeah, you notice it. Yeah, it's it because I don't know if it's changed the way you guys watch movies, but I'll see people having a conversation, be like, they're way too close to each other, and they're in a crowded bar right now. Like, why isn't the governor shutting this down?
Right.
And I realized, this is
a year ago you would have been like in the mix.
Yeah, I'm watching 3 Men and a Baby. That's very pre-COVID, but a problem in and of itself. The vaccination, even when it comes, I still feel like our behavior is going to change more slowly than with anything that I've seen in our lifetime. Because even, Terry, you mentioned the TSA or, the TSA restrictions. There is a bit of a way around that now if you're on pre-check. So eventually things do come back closer to the normal we knew before. We've heard of pandemics before, like Ebola was supposed to be a pandemic. Swine flu was a pandemic. Did you change your behavior whatsoever? No. Being that we've been doing this for months, and I don't even think twice about it before putting a mask on before I leave the house. I don't know when I'll stop feeling or start feeling comfortable not doing that. So yeah, I feel like the world has kind of changed forever.
Yeah, psychologically, I have a weird thing with masks. I mean, this is a good example of just doing what's right, even though you don't want to do it. I'm not an anti-masker, but I will admit that I hate wearing a mask. And not only do I hate wearing a mask, I hate seeing everybody wear a mask.
Yeah.
Everybody, wear your mask. The headline of this story is not Andrew Walsh says don't wear a mask. Wear your goddamn mask. I'm wearing my goddamn mask. Wear them. But I will be honest with you. It gives me, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't know exactly why. Maybe it's because when I walk out my door, I want to think that the world is back to what it was. And then I see people with masks, or I'm putting my own mask on, and I'm reminded that, no, we are still knee deep in this situation, and we don't know when we're going to be out. Like, for me, all of it causes a sort of psychological unrest. I don't have breathing issues. I want to be clear about that. It's not anything physical for me. It's just a psychological issue.
Sorry, I'm shocked you don't have asthma. You look like someone who has an inhaler.
That is the rudest thing I've ever heard. You're the smoker.
Chantix.
Did you? Oh yeah,
Chantix, it gives you crazy dreams, but Chantix works.
Really? How long did you quit?
Oh, I mean, not long, 2 weeks. But
really?
It's amazing in that even if you like try to force it, because it sort of just fills that need, like those nicotine receptors, and even if you feel nauseous. The downside is I'm having such insanely lucid dreams that rarely do I not wake up terrified.
Wow.
Yeah. And because they're so realistic, and most of them are like taking place in my bedroom. The flip side is that sometimes I have dreams where I figure out a major life obstacle and wake up feeling good, and then realize, no, I still don't have that shit figured out.
Oh, no. Do you smoke in your dreams?
No.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting. I quit a couple of years ago, but I don't think I was as big of a smoker as you were, so I didn't have Chantix or anything.
Yeah, it was just something my doctor ended up, because I was concerned about it because there's negative psychological effects, but whatever. But has COVID affected your dreams at all?
It did for a while. Like a lot of people, I can't believe it. By the way, I didn't lead this. Dream talk is another big thing I'm known for that also is a reason people don't like me very much. And I cannot believe, I brought up the grocery store thing. That's on me. I can't believe that you brought up dream talk. This is, just give me a time next week. I'll be here. But at the beginning of COVID, I think I was sleeping a little bit lighter, which is why I was remembering my dreams a little bit more. And I don't usually have any kind of nightmares or terrifying dreams, but I did have. I won't go into it now, but I did have one terrifying dream that involved a bug, a literal creepy, crawly bug that freaked my shit out. And after I talked about that on the radio show, people started writing in and saying that's also a common thing because the virus is seen as a bug. People are having more bug dreams.
Right. Which definitely makes sense.
It sure does.
But all analysis of dreams is almost makes sense, right? Like, have you ever gone to someone to have your dreams analyzed?
I haven't.
No,
I had a dream analyst on I think it was the very last week of my radio show. I was like, "Fuck it, I'm having a dream analyst on."
I knew that 2 out of 3 of us would say no, and I knew.
I don't
Terry,
think
your dreams. Have you had COVID in your dreams at all?
No, you know what? I don't sleep long enough. I don't think I ever enter full on REM to get to that dream state. So I don't think I dream very often. I have the weirdest sleep pattern. So I might go to sleep maybe midnight, maybe 1 o'clock, and then I'll find myself wide awake at 4:30, like literally wide awake for the rest of the day at 4:30. But then there'll be sometimes like in the middle of the day, I'll be like, oh,
yeah, just crashed.
Yeah, just crashed out. So I probably should see a professional. I probably have some underlying health issues going on right now, mentally and physically. But I don't sleep long enough to get a dream in.
Because that's the morning radio sleep. Like it's always just segmented into 2 4-hour shifts, and you never feel fully awake.
Yeah, and then the sun does this stupid thing now where it comes up at 4 a.m. And the backside of my house doesn't have I'm telling on myself curtain on it. And it's full on like middle of the daytime at 4 o'clock in the morning with birds chirping and shit. And I'm gonna get up and cook some oatmeal. Shit, I feel like I'm in a nursing home right now, man. I got a question for Andrew though if we move on real quick, because somebody just asked me on my social media and they want to know, what are you drinking? It looks like an IPA apparently.
Oh,
and
because. What is this? This is let's see here. It says Rogue, but it's not Rogue. It's just an IPA. I believe this is Bodhisattva, right? That's
Georgetown.
Popular. Yeah, Georgetown. Georgetown Brewing here in town.
They're such nice people.
Are you both of you guys beer drinkers? Like, like get deep into it?
Could I just show you the difference between Andrew's drinking an IPA. Let me what I'll have in a minute.
I'll tell you this while he's grabbing that. I'll tell you this. I was going to grab a Rainier out of the fridge. I'm not I like IPAs, but I'm definitely not I'm not a beer snob in any way. I mostly drink Miller Lite and Rainier. And I was going to grab a Rainier out of the fridge, but I thought for sure you guys would make fun of me for wearing a Rainier hat and drinking a Rainier. So
you do have a Rainier hat on.
Yeah. So
this is called Ice House.
Oh my God. We used to drink that in college.
Yes. So you know how sections of beer in the grocery store go from expensive. We start with the ciders, and that's expensive, and then Coors Light. This is to the right of Coors Light.
Yes, it is.
That is definitely. I'm balling on a budget. I need to get the most bang out of my buck beer.
It's exactly what it is. And then you get if you squeeze a lime into anything, it's fine because otherwise this tastes like gasoline. The lime just takes the edge off.
So I got real quick though. So before we get off the beer, what happened to me? I'm not a big beer drinker at all. I keep beer at my house just in case I have guests that like to drink beer. So I usually keep some Coronas. I keep some Bud Light and some Coors Light, right? And so my buddies the other day came up with this brand new. I don't know if it's brand new. It's brand new to me. This new drink concoction, right? So I'm going to tell you guys. It is. So you get a Corona and you drink about 2 ounces of it out and you fill up 2 ounces with Malibu. And then you add a couple of drops of grenadine. So I have this red beer, kind of got the grenadine cherry and then some Malibu pineapple rum.
Pineapple rum or coconut rum. One of the two, yeah.
So I drank 1.5 of those.
Yeah.
I felt like I could have laid down for 3 weeks.
Is that what? So do you just get tired? Do you get a little? Are you silly?
So it's been a long time since I really got there, but I just get I get more Terry-ish. I'm more outgoing. I'm gregarious.
Yeah.
I like to have fun when I drink. When
I drink too much, I just run out to my balcony and just scream "All Lives Matter" for 3 hours.
You're that guy.
I'm that guy. Yeah. Go ahead, call the cops.
Yeah.
Andrew, I don't think I ever fully plugged because I'm terrible at this. I did mention you host it's a very long running podcast. Considering a lot of radio stations are like, should we podcast? You hear that people are doing stuff like
crazy
that.
Thing.
Plug your stuff to our millions of viewers.
We started this conversation today by talking about that old 7 to 10 p.m. slot on Cairo Radio where you and I both hosted shows. The podcast I work on, do you know that it started in that 7 to 10 time slot way back in the day? I was living in New Hampshire. Luke Burbank and Jen Andrews and the gang started a podcast or a radio show back then. There's that shit house, as we used to call it in college. I heard that.
That just sounds like a Archie Bunker episode.
Yeah. Say something on the edge. But anyway, so the show I work on now is called Too Beautiful to Live. We just, I think, had maybe our 11th year anniversary because it started as a radio show back on Cairo Radio without me. And then I became a part of it, I think, back in 2012. And it's a podcast only now, but it's me and my buddy Luke Burbank. And we've been going strong. It's a daily podcast. If you like talking about dreams, grocery stores, or anything in between. So much in between those two things. Anything in between.
What about early 90s Montreal Expos?
I'm sure it's in there somewhere. I don't know. I actually did go to one Expos game once, and all I remember is everybody. It was an old Olympic Stadium, wasn't it? Isn't that where they played? And it was a Sunday game, and it was empty, and everybody was just clanging the seats around them. They had empty plastic seats. That's my Expo story. Anyway, yeah. So that, and also I do a podcast about... What's yours?
I don't like to talk about it in public.
Okay, right. You had too many Malibuyas or whatever you call that. Yeah.
Delino DeShields once verbally accosted me.
What's that?
Delino DeShields once verbally accosted me.
For real?
That's no. That would be it. That would be it.
That would be a good one. So anyway, check out TBTL. And also I do a podcast about commercials called After These Messages. And I do a podcast about cleaning called Spotless.
Oh, you do 3. So that's nearly a network.
Well, 2 of them are just for fun. TBTL is my job, and that's a real thing. But the other 2, the one I do about commercials called After These Messages, I do with my girlfriend Genevieve, and that comes out on Tuesdays. And Spotless, I do with a friend of mine who just enjoys cleaning things and is fastidious like I am. But every time I'm in this mode where I'm talking about it and I'm saying it out loud, I hear it. I do podcasts about things people don't like, cleaning and TV commercials. So
true. For that.
Yeah, right. I'm a real self.
People don't like. People are gluttons for punishment. They got a thing. What's that? S&M, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about cleaning all day long.
Yeah. Well, I do hope that the podcast though will help people see that there's some fun sides of both of those topics.
I think cleaning is once you get over the idea of cleaning and are just kind of immersed in it, that's as close to meditation as I ever get.
Mm-hmm. Pop on a podcast and just I'm going to deal with this room today. You almost go on to a different level.
I literally listen to no podcasts.
Oh, really? Well, if you're looking for one, there's one called TBTL that you might be interested in, or Spotless.
All right, Terry Holloman, anything? You were on New Day today. That seemed...
well, let's let me back it up. I thought I was on New Day today. I was on New Day today, but there's a delay now. In television, apparently, there is a 1-day delay. So I'm going to be 1 day late.
New Day.
Yeah, so I'll be on tomorrow.
All right.
11 a.m. Tune in.
You want to give a tease to it?
Yeah, it's Brooke Fox. Everybody remembers good old Brooke Fox, right? She's been doing her thing in the local media and national media for a long time now. So Brooke and I were on doing hot topics, talking about the hot things that were pressing Miss Margaret Larson today. Yeah. So we're gonna talk about some fun things. Some of the ways that we've been handling COVID, how marriages hold up through COVID, things that we do to get away from our families.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting. So tune in, Channel 5 tomorrow in Western Washington, 11 o'clock a.m.
I'm sad to see that Margaret Larson is retiring.
Yeah, it's gonna be sad to see her go, man. She's a legend.
She is a legend.
Definitely, she has cut her teeth and done her thing.
All right. Well, I know Andrew has another meeting and another podcast to tape, I'm assuming. So we're going to do this again next week back at our normal time at 6 p.m. I want to thank everybody for watching. Andrew, I miss doing the Ron and Don show with you. I remember
fun.
The one time you said, like, you laughed so hard your girlfriend points out that you leak. I was like,
that I leak. Oh, I do. Yeah. I don't know if you saw. I was going off screen to blow my nose a couple of times.
I love that.
Tried to be real cool about it. Thanks for having me.
The one thing I do remember about working with Andrew is it was like our first time working together, and he was like, "Hey man, if I start talking too much, it's only because I'm nervous, and that's what I do when I get nervous. I talk a lot. And then so if you catch me talking a lot, just don't bother to stop me. Just da-da-da-da. And I was like, you must be nervous right now."
That sounds like me.
Definitely
the right guy.
Thanks for watching. This is Burns and Holla. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out Andrew's 3 podcast. We'll be back next Monday at 6 p.m. See you, buddies.
All right, bye.